Hey there guys, BlackPanthaa here, and welcome to a video on Forza Horizon 2 once again. That was quite a nice beginning for those to pass through. Anyway, welcome to this video once again, and what we're going to do today is, I've seen a few guys in the comments basically asking how do you set up a drift tune. Can you make a video explaining all the tuning options and such in the game for drifting in rear wheel drive? Now, what I thought I'd do is go one step further, and I'm actually going to explain it in all wheel drive and a few other types of driving as well, such as circuit racing and off-roading and that sort of thing. I'm going to do a lot of stuff like that. So, first one here we've got is rear wheel drive drifting. Now, what I want you to do first off is pick a car which you wish to slide. It can be one you've already made, it can be one you've just bought. If it's low end, I suggest upgrading it performance wise straight away, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. But mid-range and high-end, I want you to take those out stock. You can totally take the low-end ones out stock, but I would suggest upgrading them a little bit. But let's get in with it here. So, first things first, what I want you to do is go over to your settings and difficulty. Now, this is where probably some of the most important parts come into play. These are the assists, and these things will probably stop you from drifting if you have some of them enabled. Well, they will, definitely, because that's what they're made to do, is to stop you sliding around, and, you know, obviously turning them off will make you less... It will help you less, so it makes you slide more, if that makes sense. But anyway, the ones you really need to look at are braking. That's up to you. Obviously, you don't want to put, you know, assisted braking. Either put ABS on or ABS off. That's totally up to you. The steering can be normal or simulation. That's totally up to you as well. I usually go with normal because it gives a better feel. We've got traction control, which is very, very important, which you need to be off. Stability, also important, needs to be off. And shifting needs to be manual or manual with clutch, whichever you prefer. Now, if you've never used any of these two before, if you use automatic all the time, be sure to just very quickly go to manual and take it for a drive around the map, I would say. Trying manual, changing gears and just giving it a go. You don't really need to be amazing with gears to get it drifting, but yeah, I'd suggest going manual with clutch or manual first. So that's all that's sorted. That's pretty much all the settings sorted, so you'll now be able to drift the car. So let me show you very here. Bloody Nora. Let me show you here very quickly. A very quick drift around this corner here. So what I'm going to do is do it, then explain, and then do it again while explaining. So here we go. So starting off, I would normally be rolling up to the corner already, and there we go, managed to get it there because it has a little less power. I haven't upgraded this thing whatsoever. There you go. It wasn't ready. So there you go. That was a drift. That was pretty much all there is to it. Now, you'll sometimes find it a lot easier to drift than others. Sometimes you'll find it harder. You know, it varies depending on what angle you got and what the weather situation is and all that stuff. But what I'm basically going to tell you now is that what you need is basically to power on. So I'm powering on here. Say you're around second gear. It depends what car you're in, obviously. And you basically keep powering on and turn. That's literally all you need to do in drift in this game. You will find in some scenarios when you're you've got too much power, your car's gonna end up spinning itself in and kind of doing this, and that's because you're throttling on too much. If you see your car start to swerve inwards while you're drifting, what you need to do is let go of the accelerator for a second and then power on again. Stop turning in. Don't turn in constantly, but I would suggest kind of like tapping it as you're doing the drift. So once again, let me explain as I go along. Now, what I do a lot of the time is use the handbrake to begin the drift. So if I tap the handbrake, power on, that was constant power on and tap in right every now and again. See, it's quite easy to get this thing drifting. So once more, hit the handbrake, turn and drift. See, I was powering on there and it turned in a little bit too much because I was constantly powering on. But if I didn't power on constantly, then that would have been a good drift. So if that makes sense to you now, and you've managed to get that drifting working right, that's absolutely awesome. Now, not all cars will be as easy as this. This is a big, weighty muscle car with a lot of bloody power and a lot of, obviously, weight to go with it. So this thing is going to slide probably a bit easier than a lot of other cars. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to go over to the Horizon Hub, and this is where we're going to start upgrading the car, and I'm going to go over it and explain a few things to you to what you should upgrade your car as and tuning and that sort of thing.
Let me know what you need.
So, here we go. Now, as I said at the start, I'm going to be showing you how to drift rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive cars, because what I want you guys to do is experiment with everything you can. Don't just experiment with rear-wheel drive and then never touch all-wheel drive. Experiment with all-wheel drive sometimes, and if you prefer all-wheel drive, experiment with rear-wheel drive sometimes. But in this video, we're covering rear-wheel drive. It will kind of broaden your horizon. Pardon the pun. It'll broaden your horizon and kind of let you know exactly what the other one's like, and obviously you'll be better overall with more cars, so it kind of makes sense. Now, what I would suggest upgrade-wise is literally adding on a few performance parts. It honestly really doesn't matter which, as long as you get some more speed and acceleration, that is all that really matters. So what I normally do is apply 3 or 4 things, and I don't want to put it too powerful, because if I make it too powerful, then obviously you're gonna have a thing where, you know, you're gonna kind of have a lot more power than you need, especially for a drift car, which is good if you're racing and such in a way, but if you're drifting, too much power can sometimes just make it more unstable, and you're just going to keep sliding when you're trying to drive to the next drift location. So I try and get mine to about S-class here. S1 or S2 is usually where I hit before I stop. And now what we really need to do is apply the brakes, springs, all of these things here, except the weight reduction. Now, that's where personal opinion comes in. Weight reduction is completely optional. Some cars will be better without it, some cars will be better with it. Now, me, personally, I prefer to use the, the weight reduction on every car. And the reason for that is because I just like the lighter feel and the fact that the car may be lighter. Sometimes you don't feel it that much, sometimes you do, but obviously you'll get more speed out of it. As for the roll cage, that's completely optional as well. I would suggest at least having one type of it. I'm going to put this one in here because I don't really like the full one because it blocks the view of the window sometimes. So the reason we're adding all of these other parts here is so we can actually customize the stats of these in tuning, which I'll show you very soon. So here we have the drivetrain itself, so literally upgrade everything here as well, which will allow us to have lighter parts, which will make us go faster, make us handle better, that sort of thing, and also tune the car once again. So that's that sorted. Now, when we go over to the next category, which is going to be tires and rims, what I like to do is say to you guys, give a go sports tires. Now, I've heard a few people prefer sports tires to stock. I've never really tried them, but I will be trying them soon, obviously, because, well, I like to try different things. I wouldn't suggest putting race tires on because it'll give you more grip, which will make you stick to the road a lot more. And I've seen that from cars I've upgraded for, racing, that sort of thing. So stock usually seems to be the way to go, but we'll have to experiment a bit more with the game because it only just recently came out. Now, tyre width, that's completely up to you as well. You can increase the tyre width if you wish. If it's rear-wheel drive, I would suggest upgrading the rear width. And if it's all-wheel drive, I would suggest converting all of them to as fat as possible because that will, help in some way. Usually with traction and such, and obviously overall you can see stats-wise it increases handling and braking. So now what you can do is choose the rims that you want. It doesn't honestly matter at all, you can choose because they're visual mainly for drifting. There are some really nice ones that are really good looking for drifting, which I could show you, but I've changed the colour of them so they won't really look as they should. And as for the rim size, that's down to you as well, doesn't matter, if you like them, do it. Now, as for the aero, once again, that's personal preference. It doesn't affect the handling too much from what I've found. Adding a spoiler on or removing a spoiler while drifting, it does seem to let you get the back end out a bit more. But once again, it's not that significant for you to really bother with not changing it because of it. It's totally up to you if you want those visual appearances. Mainly, that's what they mainly are, visual appearance. And as I said, aspiration conversion, if you wish to, you can put, your twin turbos on and such, but I'm not going to do that. We are sorted here. That is all you need to know about upgrading, so if you need to go back on any of that, be sure to do. So now we'll back out of here, and we'll actually tune on the fly. That's one good thing about Horizon 2, which is awesome, and it's actually raining now. Fantastic, just what we needed. But yeah, so in the rain you're obviously going to handle a little bit easier, but once again, you'll be able to drift as you did before, even if it's not raining. You'll be able to drift as you did before, like so. Now, what I'm going to do now is very quickly talk to you about accelerating through corners at high speed. And the reason for doing that is because I guess that's something that people usually miss a few times. So when you plan to drift around a corner, say we're going down the road at a decent speed. So let's say we're on 4th gear here, so, you know, we're going quite a decent pace. What I'm going to do here is hold the handbrake, go down to about gear 2, and drift as we normally would. But because of the rain, I kind of overshot it with the acceleration. Let's try that again. So as you can tell there, I was kind of pressing it. I wasn't pressing constantly. Sometimes it constantly works, but sometimes it doesn't. As you kind of go up in the performance chain, you'll find it a lot harder to kind of keep pressing. You know, you'll have to keep pressing the accelerator rather than constantly pressing it. But the more performance you got, that's usually what happens. Anyway, going over to cars now, let's begin tuning the car. Now, this is a very important stage for drifting, and it's not a requirement in this game. You can really just get a car and not tune it and it'll drift. But tuning, to me, is a very important part because what you're going to be doing is adjusting it to how you like it. Now, my tune is basically what I use for everything, and it's, to me, what I find best overall. And I'm going to explain as we go along. So speed and acceleration, as you can see at the top, speed and acceleration, all you need to do is adjust this to how you wish. If you wish for it to accelerate faster and begin wheel spinning faster, go towards acceleration. If you want it to last longer gear-wise, go to speed. But because we're drifting, I would say acceleration is the way to go. Now, I missed out tire pressure because usually I keep this stock. Some people adjust this, but if you want to, you can have a look at the description on the right, but it's not really required. As for the alignment, what I normally do is obviously have the camber on stock, but sometimes what I do is kind of lower it so the top is, you know, about bigger than the bottom. I usually put it in the negative point, you know, 5 to 0. I usually put it around the middle, and that's the main point where I put it. And as for the camber, this is where it kind of gets more important because the camber is what helps you kind of turn a lot better. It increases your turning circle and decreases stability if you improve the out. So what I normally put is about 6.4. You can increase that even more if you wish to, but that's totally up to you. So the more you have, the easier you'll be able to turn the car out. The turning circle will basically be larger, but you will spin out a lot easier, and you'll decrease your stability when driving very fast. So there's that. And if you do the opposite, it does the opposite. Anti-roll bars. Now, here's what you start to do with pretty much everything to do with springs and reaction related. You stiffen the thing up completely. Not completely, but you basically stiffen it up so it locks everything up, makes it so that your car can transition easier, you know, especially in a big, meaty muscle car like this. If you made a completely soft car, it's going to carry all of the weight into the corner. If you put the ride height lower, it's obviously closer to the ground and it's a lot easier to keep going. Okay, so for the dampening, once again, exactly the same. If it's soft, it's going to bounce around. If it's stiff, it's going to be locked in place. Now, you could completely lock it. This is obviously my personal preference here, what we're doing with the tuning. But you can play around with it, try it with different cars and see what you think, because every car is different. As for the aero, once you add a spoiler and such on, you know, the aero parts that we saw in the shop, you can actually tune these here and adjust them to how you wish. But for me, I normally keep them stock either way, even if I add a wing. But sometimes you may want to put it more towards cornering or speed. Cornering, keep in mind, is more traction, increasing, you know, decreasing speed and increasing, you know, grip to the road. Now, the differential, this is where it comes into personal preference once again, and here is going to be a little bit different to all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive will have a few sections, but as I said, I'm going to do all-wheel drive video. So, deacceleration, what I normally do is put it about 10% under what acceleration is. So, normally, this is what I do with the acceleration, deacceleration. And the reason this is such an important category is because this is how much power is sent to the rear wheels as soon as you tap that trigger. So what you would normally do is, I would normally put it at 80-70, that's normally enough. But if you find that too much and your car is spinning in too much and you just don't like it, what I would suggest is bringing it down to about 50-40 And if you think that's too little, you know, move it up and just play with it. It doesn't matter. It's honestly personal preference. As I said, everything here is personal preference. You will find your own tune that works, and you will kind of adapt to doing that with every car pretty much, and basing every tune off that. So once again, gearing you can adjust if you want to specifically, but really, I never really find the need to, because this game is a lot easier than, say, Forza 5. So as you saw then, the car just literally lowered. That's a good thing about this game. You can actually tune on the fly. You can do this online as well, so that's pretty awesome. But here we go. Let us begin here with drifting this car. So let me get this thing to begin to slide as we did before. Handbrake, power on, keep it turning. Oh! And I span it because I was powering on too much. And for some reason, Anna always reacts to O and I have no idea why. But as I said, keep powering through this, not literally, keep tapping it. And I would suggest around gear 2 or 3 is usually seems the best for pretty much every car. Sometimes you'll have to change gears while kind of, you know, doing the drift, because obviously that kind of makes sense. And as I said, that'll kind of make more sense when we go to all-wheel drive. When we're in rear-wheel drive, the drifting is mainly based on you tap the handbrake, you keep, you know, turning so it keeps it sliding, and you power. You can obviously tap it even if you don't want to power on constantly. You can power on constantly if you want, but what I'm saying is you can tap it to make it a lot easier so you get it right every time. But to me, sometimes I feel as if powering on just feels a bit cool. But that's obviously personal preference once again. So as I said, everything we've really done today is personal preference. You can drift a stock car if you want to. And that's what I love about Forza, allowing you to do whatever the hell you want with your cars. You can convert your cars to all-wheel drive, to rear-wheel drive, to front-wheel drive, whatever you want to do, and you can drift that thing how you want. But anyway, hopefully you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, make sure to give it a like and subscribe if you want more. And let me know down in the comments what other tutorials you want to see. Now, I'm planning an all-wheel drive tutorial, and if you've watched this whole video, may I suggest you watch the all-wheel drive tutorial as well. You may find it easier. You may find it that you find the all-wheel drive drifting more fun. You may find that you find rear-wheel drive drifting more fun. But it will be very, very important, I think, as a drifter, to experience all different types of car, because then you'll be the master of all types of drivetrain, all types of car. You can get a car and you know how to handle it from stock. So hopefully you guys will join me for the all-wheel drive tutorial, and I'll be bringing that later in the week. So if you do, as I said, if you did enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more. I'll see you in the all-wheel drive tutorial, I guess. Peace.